Hello, students. This is Mrs. Youd, and today's lesson is from Chapter 1, Lesson number 2, which is Solving Multi-Step Equations. Please take out your RPJ and your spiral notebook. Open up your spiral notebook to a new page and title it like I have, 1.2 Solving Multi-Step Equations. The goal of solving multi-step equations is to get the variable by itself. And there are some steps that you need to follow whenever you are solving multi-step equations. The first step is to simplify both sides. This can include two things. If there are parentheses, you will probably need to use distribution. If there are multiple terms, you might need to combine them together. For example, if we are given this problem here, you'll notice that I have parentheses here. That means that I need to use the distribution process first. So let's do that. I'm going to distribute 2 into both parts. So remember that means 2 multiplied by 1 and 2 multiplied by negative 5x. So my next step would be 2 times 1, which is 2. 2 multiplied by negative 5x is negative 10x. And then what I'm going to do is just keep all the rest of it the same. So I'm going to do plus 4 equals negative 8. So that was using the distribution method here. Now I need to combine some like terms. So here's what I mean for that. I have a 2 and a positive 4 that I need to combine together. So 2 plus 4 is 6. So I want to write 6 minus 10x is equal to negative 8. Now we have they are simplified on both sides. This is much, much simpler than this was here. So I have simplified this side, and this side does not need to be simplified. Now I'm ready to undo these numbers so that I can isolate or get x by itself. Step 2 is to undo the addition or subtraction. So we need to do the undo of the addition or subtraction first because we're trying to isolate the variable, and so it's kind of like going in the opposite of order of operations. Now, before I start this process, I always like to draw my line down the equal sign and circle my variable. And the reason why I do that is because it helps me keep in mind what I'm trying to solve for. My goal is to get x by itself, so that's what I'm circling. So I need to undo the addition or subtraction. In this case, we have a positive 6 here. The negative, remember, belongs to the 10. So the 6 here is positive. So in order to get rid of that 6, we need to undo that. So that's going to be subtracting 6 from both sides of the equation. And remember, in order to keep the equation balanced, we have to do it to both sides. That's why I do it here, but then if I do it on one side, I have to do it on the other. So when I do that, what happens is that the 6 minus 6 cancel out, so that's like a 0 now. And what we have left is a negative 10x equals, and then negative 8 and negative 6, those are friends because they're both negative, which means we add them together, and 8 plus 6 is 14, so this would be negative 14. The next step, step 3, is to undo the multiplication or division. So now we have, if we look at the problem, we have negative 10 multiplied by the variable x. There's an invisible little multiplication symbol that's in between. Whenever you have a variable right up next to a number, it means that they're being multiplied together. The opposite of multiplication is division, so we need to divide out the negative 10. Fractions make this so much easier. So anytime you divide, you're going to want to make it into a fraction. It's going to help you out a lot. The reason why we do this, remember, is negative 10 divided by negative 10 is 1. And so that means we're left just with x here. And now we need to simplify the negative 14 over the negative 10. Since it's a double negative here, it changes to positive. And so that's going to become positive 14 over 10. Now, anytime you have a fraction, you always need to check and see if it needs to be simplified. In this case, we do need to simplify by dividing by 2 on the top and the bottom. And so my final answer is x is equal to 7 over 5. And I'm fine with you leaving it like that. If you wanted to change it to 1 2/5, that's fine, but I'm fine with you leaving it as an improper fraction. So as you can see, it's 3 simple steps. First, you want to simplify either side of the equation. Look and see if there are parentheses and use distribution. Look and see if there are terms that need to be combined. Then you want to undo the addition and subtraction. And lastly, you want to undo the multiplication and division. Let's practice some more problems out of your RPJ. Please turn to page 10 in your RPJ. I'd like to start with number 2. So if you look at number 2, we have 24 minus 10b equals 9. Now this is already simplified, so that means I don't need to do step 1, which is to simplify. I can just move straight to step 2. So I'm going to start by drawing my line and circling my variable. Step 2 is undoing the addition and subtraction. Since I have negative 10 as being multiplied by b, that means I need to get rid of my 24 first. 24 is positive, so the opposite of plus 24 is to subtract it off. Remember, I want to make it go away. I want it to be 0. And so I'm going to subtract 24 on both sides. When I do that, the 24 minus 24 turn to 0, and what I'm left with is negative 10b is equal to, now I need to remember that we have 9 minus 24. So if I flip it around and think about this as negative 24 plus 9, it's a little bit better because we want to put the bigger number on top. So 24 minus 9 is 15. But since the bigger number is negative, then we need to keep this as negative 15. So we have negative 10b equals negative 15. All right, so now I'm going to circle my variable again so that I can keep in mind what I'm trying to do. So this time I need to get rid of my negative 10. So this says negative 10b. Remember, that means that it's being multiplied. There's an invisible little multiplication symbol there. And so what we need to do is divide out negative 10, because division is the opposite of multiplication. So divide out negative 10, and when we do that, we end up getting the negative 10s turned to 1, and I'm left with just plain old b. Now we have negative 15 over negative 10, so that's positive 15 over 10. And always simplify if you can, so we can divide by 5 on both the top and the bottom. So that means that my answer is b equals 3 over 2. So now let's take that 3 over 2 and plug it back into the original problem. 24 minus, I'm going to put this as 10 over 1 because we have a fraction answer, times 3 over 2 should equal 9. So 10 divided by 2 is 1 and then a 5 on top. So that turns into 24 minus 5 times 3 is 15, should equal 9, and it does. So we know we did it right. I would like for you to try number 1 on your own because it's very similar to the one we did in number 2. Pause the video and then turn it back on when you're finished. Okay, I got x is equal to 11. Check your answer and see if you got the same. If you did not, see if you can find your mistake. Let's take a look at number 4. On number 4, I'm going to draw my line and circle my variables. Now this time I have 2 variables. Both of them are on the left. Now since we have 2 variables on the left, we do need to do step number 1, which we don't have parentheses, but this time we do need to combine like terms first. So we're going to combine 3/4 minus 1/2. Now if you remember, when we combine fractions, when we add or subtract fractions, we need to have the denominator the same. So I could multiply the top and the bottom of the 1/2 so that I can get the denominator also as 4. So this is going to be 3/4 W minus 2/4 W, and then the rest is going to stay the same. Now we can combine these two much easier because we have our denominator the same. 3 minus 2 is 1. So this becomes 1/4 W minus 4 is equal to 12. Okay, now we just need to solve for W. So my first step is to get rid of that minus 4 by doing the opposite, which is adding 4 on both sides. When I do that, the minus 4 and plus 4 cancel to 0, and I'm left with 1/4 W equals 12 plus 4 is 16. Now, if you remember, when we have a fraction in front, we need to multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of 1/4, which is 4/1, and 4/1 is the same as 4, so I'm just going to write it that way. The reason why we can do that is because 4 divided by 4 is 1, 1 divided by 1 is 1, and we're just left with the W. 16 multiplied by 4 is 64, so our answer is W equals 64. Okay, let's plug that back in and see if we got the right answer. And when I plug it in and simplify, I end up getting 48 minus 32 minus 4 should equal 12, which simplifies to 16 minus 4 equals 12, and so it does work. I would like for you to try number 3 on your own. Don't be afraid to get a calculator if you want some help since we have decimals. So pause the video, try it, and then turn it back on when you're done. Okay, I got Z is equal to 2, and when I plugged it back in, it checked out. If you did not get Z equals 2, see if you can find your mistake. Let's take a look at number 6. On number 6, I've got parentheses, which means that before I do anything else, I need to simplify the left side. My first step to simplification is to plug in 8 into the parentheses, multiply that in, and use the distributive property. So that means I do 8 multiplied by Q and 8 multiplied by negative 11. So I have my 20 from up here, that doesn't change. And then 8 times Q is 8Q, and 8 times negative 11 is negative 88. And then we have my equals negative 12. Now let's take a look. Can we combine like terms? So I notice that I have a Q here, which means, yes, I can combine the 20 minus 88. 20 minus 88 is negative 68, plus 8Q is equal to negative 12. Let's talk about why 20 minus 88 is negative 68. So I have 20 minus 88. Another way to think about that, if I flip these two around, the negative stays with the 88. So it's negative 88 plus 20, and those are enemies, which means we need to subtract them. So it's like you take 88 minus 20, and you get 68. And since the bigger number has a negative, it's negative 68. Okay? So now let's finish the problem. So we have our Q here, and we need to solve for Q. So my first step is to add 68 to both sides, because 68 is subtracted, right, is a negative, so I need to add it. And so when we do that, the minus 68 and the plus 68 cancel to 0, and I'm left with 8Q is equal to. Now this negative 12 plus 68 is the same as 68 minus 12. And 68 minus 12 is 56. Last step, 8 is being multiplied by Q, so we need to divide it out. And when I do that, the 8's cancel, and I'm left with Q is equal to 7. Okay, I'm going to plug that in and make sure it worked. So we have 20 plus 8 times 7 minus 11 is equal to negative 12. So it's 20 plus 8, and then 7 minus 11 is negative 4, should equal negative 12. Now we need to do multiplication before we do addition. So this is 20, and 8 times negative 4 is negative 32, should equal negative 12. and it does, so we did it right. I would like for you to try number 5 on your own and then turn the video back on to see if you got it right. Okay, I got A is equal to 1, and when I plugged 1 back into my equation, it did work. If you got something wrong, please check and see if you can find your mistake. Instead of doing number 7, I'm going to do a different problem with you. Let's say that your goal is to run an average of 1.5 miles per day. Okay, and this is what you have run. On Monday, you ran 2 miles. On Tuesday, 0. On Wednesday, 1.5. On Thursday, 0. So the question is, how many miles do you need to run on Friday in order to get the goal of 1.5 miles per day? So if you remember, the average is adding everything up and then dividing by how many there are. So in this case, there are 5. So what we're going to do is add 2 and 0 and 1.5 and 0 and the unknown, I'm going to use an x, all divided by how many days there are that we're counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's going to be a division by 5. Now we want it to equal 1.5. Okay, that's our goal. So let's simplify this a little bit. I can combine the top of this by combining my like terms of 2, 0, 1.5, and 0. So that's going to be then 3.5 plus x, all divided by 5, is equal to 1.5. Now, since everything is divided by 5 here, what we can do is we can multiply this by 5 and on both sides. And when we do that, 5 divided by 5 is 1, so those cancel out. And what I'm left with is, I'll put it over here, let's see, 3.5 plus x is equal to 1.5 times 5 is 7.5. So now we just need to solve for x. So I'm going to circle my x, and you can see that x is being added to 3.5. So the opposite of addition is subtraction. So we're going to subtract 3.5 on both sides, and these cancel, and I'm left with x is equal to 4. So that means that on Friday, you need to run 4 miles if you want your average to be 1/2 miles per day. So on Friday, you need to run 4 miles. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.